Hey guys, Ronin here. Welcome on back to the channel. It is Sunday. I hope you're having a safe and happy rest of your weekend, wherever you may be in the wide, wide world. Hope you got your clocks set forward an hour now that we're getting a little bit closer into springtime. But it is once again Suckerpunch Sunday. And this week, we're going to dive back into the 16-bit generation and go with a game that I have heard, like many games, I've heard incredibly great things about, but have never played. And that is going to be Streets of Rage 2 for the Sega Genesis / Mega Drive, depending on where in the world you lived. As always, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and ring the bell for the latest content. Forgive me a little bit for the vocal slip up. I don't really do well when we do the whole spring forward, fall back transitions every year. It's what happens when you get a little bit older. But if you like the channel, be sure to follow us on Twitter at @Retrocade. If there's any game you'd like to see us play from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th generation, the Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Sega Master System, Nintendo 64, SNK Neo-Geo, PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2, leave it down in the comments below. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to see how far I can get in Streets of Rage 2 in about maybe a half an hour or so. And again, this is a game I saw people play in arcades back in the 90s when I was younger. And because I didn't personally have a Sega Genesis / Mega Drive, my brother did, but his whole fascination was more with sports-based games and not action games like this, I never got to play the majority of games for that console. So this will be new to me. But if there's a couple of things that I know about this game, and again, the difference between Streets of Rage 1 and Streets of Rage 2 is you get a few more characters, and there are, I know, some mechanics variations that they didn't carry over to the sequel. But you get 4 different characters. You get Max the Wrestler, Axel the Street Fighter, you get Blaze, and you get Skate. And Skate is actually the, his full name is Eddie Hunter, and he is the brother of Adam Hunter, who was the 3rd playable character in the original game. So I'm just going to go bread and butter, and I'm going to play with Axel. And the thing that strikes me right away about this game is twofold. It's the color and the sound. The music in this game is, from what I understand, is some of the most universally celebrated in all of gaming, and it was done by a man named Yuzo Koshiro, with a couple of items that were contributed also by Motohiro Kawashima. And as this game, if you name check the best games of all time, Streets of Rage 2 is more often than not on there. In the same way that Final Fantasy VI, if you're following our Final Fantasy VI playthrough, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, often meets that same criteria. But having seen kids playing this in the arcades, again, back in the early 90s, this game came out in 1992 in North America. It actually was released in North America first, and then it was issued in Japan and Europe about 12 to 18 months later. But you always knew when kids were playing it because the soundtrack and the music score is so iconic at this point. And unlike previous games like Double Dragon and Fatal Fury and even Renegade, which I played a couple of weeks ago, this was one where it looks like the most attention was given by Sega and Ancient, who were the companies that designed this game and this whole series, in making it as dynamic as possible. And it's not a hard game to control. On the Sega Genesis, you had 3 buttons. You had the A, B, and C, and you had your D-pad. So it wasn't a really hard game to figure out how to operate. And unlike Renegade, where you had to worry about making sure which way you were facing in order to hit enemies coming at you either way, this one's a lot easier. You just turn and swing, and obviously having weapons like a big lead pipe certainly help, because now you can just tee off on guys. Oop, sorry, there's a slight lag there. And for those of you who may be wondering how I'm playing these games, I'm playing my Sega Genesis games on the Fusion emulators, Fusion 3.64, which admittedly is an old emulator. I think they last updated it maybe, I want to say 10 years ago. But it's still the best one I have seen. And it's the best one I've played with. Ah, and I lost a pipe. Now, one of the things I know that they traded off in this game from the original was that in the original Streets of Rage, you had a special attack where, with Axel especially, you could do things like calling in a cop car and it would launch a barrage at your enemies. In this game, they swapped that out in favor of these special attacks where you hit the A button. And you get a bit more damage in, but you do so at the expense of your life bar. So you have to be careful about it. But luckily, I was able to take him down. This is also one of the first games that I saw of the fighting platform genre that had a timer on it. And I know that that was something that they was brought over from the arcades when you had timers to make sure the kids were popping in as many quarters as humanly possible. They didn't have to keep this in Streets of Rage 2 for the Genesis, but one of the interesting aspects of it, I think, was trying to maintain that one-to-one fidelity between what kids remember seeing in the arcades and what they were playing at home. And as I've stated throughout a lot of games in this series that we've played so far, back in the 8-bit era especially, trying to duplicate what you were seeing in arcades just was really, really difficult. Because the technology available for arcade cabinets at the time was a little better, even with the 8-bit limitations, than what you saw in later versions. And this being a 16-bit game, it's a lot closer to what that arcade feel originally was meant to, or intended to be. And if you watched our playthrough of King of Fighters in our first Suckerpunch Sunday, as I pointed out, that console is a 24-bit console, and it's $700. Nobody at the time even considered the idea of getting it, because that was a ridiculous amount of money to be spending back then on a video game console. But if you did, what you got in return was pretty much the equivalent of playing an arcade game at home. The Genesis, which was running, if I remember it right, about $200. I think it was like $199 when it came out, because they needed to compete with both the NES and the Super NES. And the games were obviously more affordable and on par with Super NES and Nintendo games than anything you would get on like the Neo-Geo or the TurboGrafx 16 or other comparable, I don't want to say independent titles, but lesser known consoles of the day. And that you could go out and spend maybe $30 or $40 and get a game like this certainly made it more appealing to the average American home than anything else. And as I said when we were playing Double Dribble, I almost said Double Dragon because it's a Sunday, but when I played Double Dribble 2 weeks ago, I made the observation that the simplicity of the game often belies the complexity of it. And we tend to think that because modern games now, especially controllers, you have so many features and so many functions available to you, that older games, by some definition, are now the simplicity of it makes it not nearly as interesting. And I disagree. I think if you go back and you play games of 25, 30, 40 years ago, and it staggers my mind to say that when I'm thinking about a 90s or an 80s game that I grew up playing, that it's been... Would you quit chucking me around, dude? Appreciate it. Thanks. But anyway, if you go back and play these games, which is part of the reason why I started this channel, you find that the challenge is still there, and the enjoyment is still there, even though you're not having to worry about all the different factors you get in modern games. And I'm not belying modern video games by any way, shape, or form. You know, just because I play classic video games doesn't mean I don't play new games. I have a PS4, a PS3, and a PS2 not 2 feet away from where I'm sitting. Along with all my emulators, I play modern PC games all the time. You know, I'll die quite happily on the hill of saying that games like Skyrim are breathtakingly incredible game experiences. You know, one of the games that I played last year that I was really, really surprised about, even though in a lot of ways I shouldn't have been, was Horizon Zero Dawn for the PS4. That's an incredible game. It was one of the most purely enjoyable games that I have played from top to bottom in a really long time. So, just because I'm an older player and go back and go through these sorts of archives and see what's available, don't think for a second that I'm a stodgy old man telling you to get off my virtual lawn, because I absolutely am not. But visually, there's nothing about Streets of Rage 2 that I find unappealing. I love the color of it. I love the character style. And again, in order to save money in development costs, it's a game where you recycle sprites. And we saw that in Final Fantasy VI. We see that in other games as well, where it's more cost effective to just recycle what is available and use the assets you've already created, rather than spending a whole lot of time on designing truly unique characters or flooding the entire world of the game with different sprites. Ow. Alright, I don't want to lose the pipe here. Out of all the weapons in this game, I think I still like the pipe the best. Ow. Ow. Knock it off, jerk. Look. There we go. No, sir, you don't need that spleen. Ow. Ow. Quit it. All right. Give me that. Go away. Or I will taunt you a second time. And gotta grab the cash. Well, that was easy enough. Oh, I've been working on the railroad. And do I get to keep the pipe for the next part of the level? I hope I do. I don't. Jerk. As I was saying about the character designs in this, it's not uncommon for, especially fighting platform games at the time, to only have maybe 5 or 6 variations with different color schemes. We saw that in Double Dragon, we saw that in City Connection, and Urban Champion, and River City Ransom. You know, you have to remember, back in the day, games, while they were expensive to create, they weren't nearly on the scale of what they are now. You know, proportionally, with what you had to do with 3D technology and making truly open world sorts of games, you just didn't have those sorts of requirements back then. All you had to do was make a really interesting 2D action game like this, and people would pick it up in droves. Alright. This guy. Hold still. Ow. Listen, flyboy, come here. Hey. Ooh, he just designed you flying drop. Ah, knock it off. I gotta sit here and jump kick him. This is gonna be a long fight, and I don't have a whole lot of time. I don't want to think about what happens if that timer runs out. Well, fortunately, I don't have to, because I thought he was going to be a lot bigger than that. Now, because I haven't brought it up until now, there are 8 stages in Streets of Rage 2. So now I guess we are heading into the amusement park for stage 3. When the reviews for Streets of Rage 2 originally came out, there were people who were saying that this was actually a better game, top to bottom, than Street Fighter 2 was. Which, considering how much Street Fighter 2 truly changed everything, and it changed everything. There is a documentary in the works that I know by a YouTube personality named Oliver Harper. I don't know him personally, but I have followed his content for a long time. And he's doing one all about Street Fighter 2. I think it is close to being released. But if you check his YouTube channel, just go to Oliver Harper, look it up on YouTube. He does a lot of really good old movie reviews. And that's how I originally he got on my radar, because I'm also a movie junkie in regards to being a video game junkie. I am what they refer to in the business as an all-around dork. I can talk for hours about music and video games and movies and books. It's all the stuff that I loved as a kid that I have tried to various degrees to hang on to as an adult, with intermittent success, unfortunately, if I'm honest. Yeah, if you check out his YouTube channel, he'll have more information on when that documentary is coming out. And I can end my non-paid plug there. Okay, let's see what else we got. Don't need no stinking lag. And for being more of a close quarters weapon with the knife, it's interesting how damaging it actually is. If there's one small gripe I have about this game, it is that when you pick up a weapon and you grapple somebody, that you automatically drop it. And also, if you find yourself in close proximity to having different weapons, that your character will spend more time deciding which one to pick up. Than actually going around and kicking people's butt. Alright, you're not going to see me lay down the whooping on this guy, but... in Japan, this series is actually known as Bare Knuckle. And when I started picking up my emulators, because they're pretty indiscriminate about as far as the archive of games you get along with them, which I'm fine with. I end up realizing after the fact that I have both the Japanese and American versions of this game available to me. And I could have decided to play Bare Knuckle instead of Streets of Rage 2, but I figured, what the heck, most people know this one better. Oh, cool. Ah! No, give me my sword back. Look at that tomato! Alright, so I get through the sub-bosses, but now I need to get a life boost quickly. I was hoping for something a little more substantial than that, guys. Come on. Alright, now I have to fight both the whip chick and knife guy here. Ow! Ow! Alright, I can't get too close to her with the kicks, because otherwise she's going to whip me. Listen, jerk. Ow. Ow. It does irk me a little bit that he can throw his knives and I can't. Alright, she's gone. And the special attacks, they do quite a bit of damage. But you have to be tactical about them, again, because they dip into your health bar. Alright, that takes care of him. So I got 4 guys left. What the heck is this? I got me a sword again. Cool. I always did find it interesting that you had money bags and stuff in here to collect. Because this game is still a point-based system where you had things like high scores. That mattered. So being able to grab money... I don't even want to think about what that sound was. But having the money bags, though, was always an interesting touch. Ah! Okay. Wow. Face the right way, that'll help. Ah! Can I still pick it up? No, I can't. Dude, you cost me my sword. Alright, I'm gonna use you like a speed bag. Oh, I cannot believe this thing took me out. And I've still got 3 guys left. Give me that. Oh, I cannot lose my sword here. Alright, you Blanca throwing bastard. That sucked. Oh, wow. Try and pull the special off, and he's still busting through it. Say, anytime you feel inclined to stop jumping around, I was teeing off on this guy in the start of this fight. Oh, come on. Oh. Are you kidding? Oh, man. Alright, well. I was hoping we'd go farther than that, and with 6 guys, we got whittled down quite a bit here in Stage 3, but that, guys and gals, is Streets of Rage 2. Hope you enjoyed that one. I find it's a lot of fun to play this game, and it is available now if you are interested in trying to find it outside of playing it on emulators. You can find it on Steam because it's so revered. There are so many variations of it that you can find now. You can find it on Steam. I think PlayStation Network has it. I don't know if Xbox Live has it. But if you want to try it out, go do so. Try and find it. And I know there's a couple of other sequels. There's Streets of Rage 3 and 4 that came out later on. And I think even the 3DS has a version of it. So if you like this, by all means, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, hit the bell to be notified of the latest content. Don't miss out on Sports Saturday as well. I didn't mention that at the top, but we played Bases Loaded yesterday for the Nintendo Entertainment System, and we do that every Saturday. And also follow along with our first-time playthrough of Final Fantasy VI. I do it twice a day, 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we're hitting the quarter pole. We're at episode 25 going into tomorrow. So, looking forward to get back to work on that. Follow us on Twitter at Retrocade. As always, have a safe and happy rest of the weekend wherever you may be. My name is Ronin, and I will talk to you on Monday. Bye.